Welcome to Builder Buzz by Home Nation, where we bring in builders, developers, and everyday investors to talk about one of America's biggest opportunities, affordable housing. We'll talk about real costs, explosive growth, big mistakes, and tough lessons you won't learn anywhere else. Whether you're building homes, buying land, or just building big ideas, this podcast is for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Builder Buzz by Home Nation. I'm your host, Quinton Comino. Today, we have Maya Irizarry. She does Solutions by Maya. She's a consultant to businesses, and she covers pretty much everything that comes into how to run a business, how to hire people, how to fire people, how to onboard people, how to have the right person in the right role. And she's passionate about what she does. You can see it in how she communicates, and she's good at it because you're going to hear examples of the right way to do something versus the wrong way to do something, substantiated by results, substantiated by experience. So this is going to be a fantastic episode. Tune in. We are going to learn a ton. Company name, Solutions by Maya, right? What does the SBMGO stand for? I couldn't find that.
Solutions by Maya Go.
I wondered, I thought, well, maybe that's her initials, the GO. So what exact, sorry, go ahead.
Just to simplify, because if you think about it, everything is QR code now. If I were to spell out a whole, long drawn out website, most people aren't going. They have no attention to it. So that's kind of how that started.
Yeah. So Solutions by Maya. Solutions is that everyone's got a lot of problems. So what sort of solutions are you providing specifically?
So it's catered to bridging the people and the process in business. And so it's through various tools that I do this. I didn't realize that I connect dots very easily. I didn't realize it was a skill. And so in time, I've learned that in listening to the issues that people are facing in their business owners specifically, that it tends to stem in an area that they can't identify, but a lot of it is either miscommunication, misalignment. And so how do we bridge that and understanding the people, how to identify the right fit, have a background in recruiting and college admissions. So you're trying to vet the right people for the right reasons, right? The other part of it is making sure that the client has the proper systems in place for onboarding someone where they're not just given expectations and then sink or swim when they get started. And then they feel a discomfort because there are bottlenecks or there are issues that arise that they don't know the natural flow of what that's supposed to look like. So the essence is bridging communication. And with that, it's getting people and understanding people's behaviors in the process. So it's a lot of psychology. I didn't study psychology, but I lean into a lot of the behavior analysis because you understand how people behave and you understand how the roles are aligned and the expectation and the roles for behavior is then you don't have to, it's not about people, whether you like them or you don't like them. It's whether they can perform or it's not, it's a misalignment and they belong somewhere else.
I get the impression just kind of right off the bat that, that you're a people person, that you get people and you understand people very well, like relationships, just how people think, emotions. I get the impression that that's like a really strong forte of yours.
Well, I try to develop good relationships. My grandmother, when she was still around, she was always considered the one who would talk to anyone, and I spent a lot of time with her. I don't just I like to make people feel comfortable, and I never want to see anyone struggle if I can help it. And so I think a lot of this comes from a long time of working for others, building up to helping others acclimate to their roles. I never had the official title to be an HR person or to build systems and processes, but that's just kind of what happened when I was in environments that didn't have them. So I would
Mm.
create them and make it systematic so it was easier for us to have predictability. And those are things that I talk to business owners on a regular basis about, predictability, creating transparency,
Hmm.
because how you formulate all that stuff and position it for the people to effectively work is by design, right? And we're
Yeah.
in the building industry, right? We always go to an architect first, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So why don't we do that for our businesses?
That's a fair point. And so you're kind of that architect. So let me just make sure I'm tracking here. You help with, because it sounds like every aspect, and you do very well with recruiting because you have a ton of experience with that. So you said that's your background. You understand people, finding the right person for the right role. You did a lot of that with college recruiting. So you're able to find out like, hey, you're not going to be an engineer, or you're going to be a really good, mechanic. You're going to be a really
It's
good doctor.
it's funny. I have
Hmm.
a young lady who reached out to me after completing her course, reminding me of the first interview she had with me in college admissions. And at first, she wanted to come to school. I don't even remember what the major was, and I said, "Don't do that. You're not going to get out." I think it was medical assisting or something like that, where
Yeah.
she was going to get out with a degree, but maybe make $15 an hour. And what did you need
Mm.
that associate's degree for? We had
Yeah.
an
Yeah. Yeah.
occupational therapy assistant program,
Mm.
and she says that that was the best recommendation that I could have made for her, because she got into an industry that she loves. She was able to travel with it. She was able to use her skill set wherever she went, start a business or work for others, and it was very flexible, and it was able to be lucrative.
Yeah, that's great. No, my wife's sister does that. She's an occupational therapist. She's an assistant for that, and she's very happy with it. It was a great decision for
And it's one of those things you don't have to get a master's degree for, but
her.
you can definitely have a great living out of it. I
Hmm.
know I didn't start by saying my name is Maya Irizarry. My company is Solutions by Maya. We
Hmm.
believe in people, fit, and process planning.
Yeah.
My motto is where aligned teams drive results.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the goal. How do we get
Hmm.
alignment, and how do we drive the goals? We have to create the path.
So, all right. So, and that's starting from bringing people on, making sure, like getting the right people, making sure they onboard, and making sure that there's a structure in place for success in the business as a whole. So, how do you know that you're achieving your goal, that people are being aligned, that you're getting results? Because that looks very different for every business. So, how do you know that you're successful?
So I interview the clients. A lot of them, they
Mm-hmm.
don't come to me because they just want to spend money and have an advisor for the fun
Mm-hmm.
of it. A lot of the time, they'll contact me because they're in such pain that
Yeah.
they can't perform their everyday duties because there's either miscommunication, they can't get people to perform the way that they have expected. They've set up a certain expectation in their mind when they've hired someone that they should perform a certain way. However,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have necessarily a goal number in mind. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
backed into what those key performance indicators would be
They don't
for
even
each
know.
goal. Right.
Yeah.
So I have to coach them through that, where we decide you've been
Mm.
successful in business. You've generated 7, 8, $10 million year over year. Um, you know that you could be doing better with
Mm.
with your spending. You're probably not spending in a frugal way. You're not as careful as you probably should be with your bottom line. So that means you're not
Mhm.
profiting as much.
Mhm.
You don't have the best communication, which means how much time is lapsing, and how is that experience affecting your customer service when you
Mhm.
don't know when someone's supposed to be scheduled to be somewhere, or you're not communicating with the
Yeah.
customer on their arrival, or whatever the case may be. So
Mhm.
we have to build what that should look like. And we have to
Mhm.
first start with the leader to understand, yes, we have these nice mission, vision, values on your website. And yes, they sound great, but how are we living?
Yeah. Where do you see most commonly the misalignment in relation to the mission, vision, values, where this is what we say, but here's what we do?
I think that a lot of the people who go into business, especially in the roofing and construction trades, uh,
Mhm.
they were really good at installing. They saw it.
Yeah.
They worked in an environment that they saw inefficiencies. They saw a way to do it themselves, and they said, "Why do I have to deal with them and their whatever functions or dysfunction they had? And
Yeah.
then, let me do it my way. I know how to greet the customer. I know how to acquire the customer, and I know how to fulfill it. But when it gets beyond your
Mm.
physical ability
Hmm.
and that's not their expertise, they
Yeah.
have to understand, how do I apply it? I have one client who owns a roofing company, and he was
Hmm.
very good at being the technician. And then
Yes.
when it was just three of them, he had a rhythm, because he would go do the visits for the inspections, and then he had someone in the office who would piggyback and do the follow-up proposal,
Hmm.
deliver on the information, and they had a good thing going. But then they needed to expand so that they can perform more work.
Hmm.
And then when that happens, there are more people involved, and either the message gets diluted, or the original people in the
Yeah.
process were really good.
The next one's
Well, and it's not that it's their fault. It's just
correct.
now it's not. We're not dancing to the
Yeah.
same
Beat. Yeah.
two step or whatever. And so it's really creating that alignment. And of course, when we're in it every day, it's hard to see it happening. But one
Hmm.
day you look up and you're like, why am I feeling this way? And that's why this client specifically told me, he said, we're generating revenue, but I don't like how I am pressed every night, feeling like I am still hands on with every single
Mm.
project, and I can't
Yeah.
take a step back.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
thought at some point, when I had other people working for me, it would allow me some of the flexibility. And
Yeah.
so it's that owner operator mentality, and how do you separate trust and delegate? But first, you have to define what every part of the process looks like from your point of view, and how you want
Yeah.
it executed on. And that takes time to build.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. So, when you're working with a client, do you have like a time frame that you work with? Hey, this is I have 3 tiers of what I do, A, B, or C, or is it, hey, I work with you for as long as we need to achieve this goal? And then how do you offload from that and give them the reins completely and say, okay, you're on your own. Thank you so much. It was great working with you. How does that work?
It's usually the second option, because it's usually ongoing. It's not something that
Hmm.
I deliver on a presentation and here you go, it's buttoned up, and now
Yeah.
you have a slideshow presentation. A lot of it starts with us building what that process needs to look like, and then going on into now creating learning for each part of the process, and
Mm.
then educating each employee on how that, and filtering that through and communicating, and then developing the leaders to actually know how to problem solve through certain things and
Hmm.
not depend on the C-suite. So there are also
Yeah.
different levels of support that I provide in the process, and I really try to educate them along the way. If I'm helping with recruiting, I have a presentation called "You're Not Hiring a Resume: The 5 C's of Building
Mm.
Strong Teams." And
Yeah.
that one is based on the 5 C's are character, competence, capacity,
Hmm.
chemistry, and course. But what are the questions that you ask on an interview that will give you an indication that this person is aligned?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, hiring the right people, that's the first step. If you do
Well,
that wrong, then just like good luck. You're trying to make someone something that they may never be.
and it's the hardest thing is to have that communication, because when someone starts, they're excited to work for a company. They want to be all in. No one comes to
Yes.
a company and wants to do something right out of left field. They want to do a good job. And so it's disheartening when you see them at the end of the road, when there's that
Mm-hmm.
misalignment, to see them
Mm-hmm.
at that failure point, because you're not a failure. It's just, this is not the area, or
Mm.
we failed
Yeah.
you because we did
Correct.
not
Yes.
prepare you with the right information, or we weren't in a position to take you on,
Correct.
because
Yeah.
we didn't have the proper training and development, or learning and development, that would allow you to be successful in this role.
So that's this. I love that because this is like the idea that I call just like extreme responsibility,
Okay.
where it's on me as the employer. I hired the wrong person. I didn't train you. I didn't give you the support. That's on me 100%. I own that. Do you ever get pushback from your clients where they're like, no, Maya, this person's just not good? Like they're the one who's not receiving it. Do they ever not respond well to that?
Yes. And there are going to be people where they have the expectation, like I'm going to come in and wave a wand and something's going to change miraculously. So if they
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in the philosophy, I use assessment tools. I use the DISC assessment where
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't just assume I know what people are all about.
Mm-hmm.
I let them take the assessment, and it explains their behaviors, and it
Mm-hmm.
informs me of the value they bring to the organization and how to effectively communicate with them, how not to communicate with them, their
Mm-hmm.
potential strengths or weaknesses, energizers or stressors. I mean, I
Yeah.
started to identify energizers and stressors when I was still employed and managing a team of people. And the way
Mm-hmm.
that I delegated was based on the actual task that would stress me out. I would delegate. And even if it was a
Yeah.
high level, I would teach one of my employees how to do a high level function. It would allow them to grow, but it also would take something off my plate that I really didn't have any business doing if
Yeah.
it, if it didn't allow. Obviously, there's work that you can't avoid that's going to
Yeah.
stress you out. But if you can
Yeah.
acknowledge those areas, or if I can see what stresses you out potentially, and I know that this role will require you to be in that state of stress
Mm-hmm.
constantly,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to ask you questions about that on the interview.
No, that's really good. No, that's really good. I'm looking. Yeah, that's a great point. This is going to carry this level of stress. Can you handle it? You're
Hmm.
going to get customers calling about this stuff. Can you handle it? You're going to have this many people responsible that you're responsible for. How are you going to do with that?
Right. And at the same time, yes, you may have done it before. You may be capable of doing it. And think about all the things you're capable of doing. But what
Mm-hmm.
do you enjoy doing day in
Yeah.
and day out? And some may say, following your passion is BS. And yes, you have to follow your skill. But
Mm-hmm.
you also have to lean
Yes.
into where you are skilled, and then you find the passion in the achievement.
Yeah, it's really good because yeah, sure, you can be passionate about something that you're just not good at it. Really
Right.
passionate about this part and like, look, you're just not the person for it. Like, yeah, you can do that on your own time, but your skill set is here. And there is an alignment with skill set and passion somewhere. It might not be like perfect 100%, but there
Mhm.
is a measure of alignment there. And I imagine that's what you're looking for. Where can I find that with each person? And then
Were
really
you really
tapping into
trying
that.
to bring it back to architecture?
No, it just works. It was such a great analogy. It just worked. So, can you tell me some success stories where you were able to find someone that's like, come on, let's tweak this a little bit. Let's redirect your focus right here. And then they just really ran with it.
Now you're putting me on the spot, but I think every day I try to take stock of all of the small wins, and
Yeah.
the aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like you said, are there ever clients that will say, no, it's just them, they're not working out and don't take accountability? There's the opposite where they didn't realize that there's another perspective to what they're doing, and they were taking a certain approach, but taking a different approach or another idea could open up another avenue of
Mm-hmm.
perspective that was never
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Okay.
so, oh, good.
Mhm. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
And in those aha moments, that's where we have a lot of breakthroughs. And for me,
Yeah.
like big wins, I started to think about that, and I was like, what did I have that was a big win? But I know that
Mm-hmm.
there are many days where I come home to my husband and I say, yeah, I won the day, man. Today was a great day. And I think it's being able to overcome breakthroughs, because a lot of the work is long-term work. The vision, it's not something that I'm going to get an instant
Yeah,
gratification.
that's a great point because no, that's actually probably the best response you could have because it's not fix this one thing and then boom, everything falls into place and then all your problems are solved. And it was just this one misalignment. It's more so a lot of small things where we find out, hey, this person actually has a strength here, or "Hey, you guys are, as a business, you're really good at selling this way, or your process here is really good. Let's actually do that a bit more. Or let's not diversify so much. Let's focus a little bit. Let's maybe stop doing this here." And those little things are what add up over a period of time.
Yes.
But man, I mean, I bet you would have things, you give people advice, you tell them what to do, and then their implementation is either not really what it needed to be or just maybe not there at all. And then you come back on your next call with them and you're like, guys, and they're like, whoa, they just don't see the value in it. Or I don't know. I bet that happens a lot.
We were testing, right? Okay, this approach didn't work. Let's try it this way, or maybe this is not the software, or maybe we have to look into a different kind of integration because we're not getting the outcome that's going to be most satisfying for all parties involved, the customer, the employee, and the manager, or whatever the case may be. But I was going to liken it to sports teams, because when a sports team is winning and you ask them what's working, they can't tell you. It's, the coach has already refined everyone's angle and given them the feedback that they need to make it all work. And then when the team is falling apart and losing, who do they fire?
Yeah. They go over the coach.
Right. And then they bring someone back in because they need a different eye on the team. And then suddenly maybe they got lucky because the right trade happened, or whatever the case may be. But, variables change, and it's taking advantage of what you have in front of you and being able to also get the message across so it's received, because a lot of the time the members of the team may not receive you.
Yeah. See, because it's not just like, say, thinking of football, right? American football. It's not just making the right calls for the plays. Hey, we're going to pass this one. We're going to do a run this one. We're going to fake it this way. It's not just that. It's having the right people in the right position and identifying, hey, this guy's pretty quick, or this guy can take a hit and keep running, or this guy's not going to drop the ball, so we're going to put him here, or we're going to do this matchup. So being the coach that
Go ahead. Finish your point.
Being the coach that understands the strengths for each person, and then that relays to business. This person is a salesperson. Why do we have them doing such and such? Or this person is admin and they love it, and they don't even know that they love it. I love getting the right people.
You're expecting them to be compliant and have all the T's crossed and I's dotted. You're better off having someone in another position to catch it than try to change this person. Why don't we exhaust all those great things? But I was going to say one thing. It's not only what you said about the athletes and their skills and their ability to take a hit. It's a values alignment. So if they don't believe in the coach's philosophy, if they don't believe in their other team members, and they don't follow the same philosophy of thought, the head game is just as strong as the physicality of it. So it's not just the installation. It's where are you mentally, the risk factors too. How safe are you on the job? Because we go into safety as well. I oversaw a safety team, and they don't realize, because they're doing the actual installation, that I'm tracking metrics when it comes to actual audits that allow us to actually give praise. We're so used to telling people where they went wrong, but actually giving praise in areas of opportunity to give praise for people doing all the right things, because a disengaged workforce causes for higher workers' comp rates, and it's incidents than workers' comp rates.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The idea of values and not just that skill set, because I have heard this saying before, like, don't hire any smart jerks. You might be really smart, but you're a jerk. Like, no one wants to work with you because the values are not aligned there for whatever reason. Right. And so that's interesting, because the values come top down. And when you're a small business and you as the leader are working day to day with your employees, the values are just innately coming out and being communicated in your everyday interactions. It's not like you don't have to say that you have integrity, because people see it. Okay. And so
Maybe.
If you're working with them, well, here, I'm saying from my experience, working with them every day, they see that. And then as the leader, you'll see if they don't have that. It's not something that necessarily needs to be like, hey, do you have integrity? You'll see it in their interactions. But then as you become more separated from employees, because as a leader, you're focusing on different things, maybe you put a different person in management over them, or they can run kind of autonomously, you lose that communication of values. And I'm just curious on how do you maintain the value system and the mission statement and what have you of the company as the leaders maybe become less involved in the day-to-day
It's
operations? How do you
down.
maintain that? Yeah, exactly.
So I said maybe when it comes to you see the values, because based on conditions, people have in the DISC assessment, you have an adapted and a
Mm-hmm.
natural. And so when you're in your adapted, it's how you are performing under different circumstances or undue stress. And so there are times where a business owner's values aren't reflecting. They don't mean to be frustrated and upset and lash out, but
Mm-hmm.
something has brought them to the point of frustration that they may take it out in the wrong way. And that
Yeah.
may be what a new employee sees and has an impression of this person.
Mm-hmm.
But when all things are aligned, they may not act in that way because
Mm-hmm.
they have the proper protocols and people in place in order to carry out the mission. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think the stress and the pressure can get to people, and
Mm-hmm.
make them alter who, like, become who they don't want to be. Because when we're conscious of it, we try to put on a good front and try to be the best foot forward that we can be. But then under
Mm-hmm.
stress, we become how we were raised to to
Yeah.
respond, and that's
Yeah.
not necessarily the best impression of us.
No. Yeah.
So
Stress burns out.
how do you handle that? You have to
Mm.
document, 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 document. The more
Okay.
information from the most basic step to how we do it has to be so spelled out that we don't leave it to common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what's common for you is not common for me. And when you
Mm-hmm.
say mission, vision, values, how
Mm.
do we create the language? I have a presentation called Strategies for Operational Excellence. And in that,
Mm-hmm.
I go into the different areas that you need to organize in order to create operational excellence. And part
Yeah.
of that is the common language. The common language that we speak as a company may be different
Mm-hmm.
than the language that we speak, that other companies speak. So, what specific words are we using? And what
Mm-hmm.
is our language to our customers that we're known for? I mean, Chick-fil-A is known for my
Yeah.
pleasure,
Yeah.
and different companies have
Yeah. Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things that they say in their common language. So, what in your
Yeah. Yeah.
value system brings you back to the reason why we do it this way, Mr. Customer, is because our company values require that we respond immediately, and I
Mm-hmm.
stay with your issue until it's completely resolved.
Mm-hmm.
That's our value.
Yeah.
Those are fundamental to us. But who's going to teach that to a person? And think about how many times someone has to hear something before it actually is A,
Mm-hmm.
heard, and B, actually applied. So we have to show that this is important to us, that our
Mm-hmm.
values are important to us as a company. And that should be spoken to from the visionary perspective, the
Mm-hmm.
person who's speaking our goals into existence and having us or telling us of the plan or the path that we think is impossible, but we're willing to follow because we know that they have our back. And how do we know
Yeah.
they have our back? Because we follow these set ways of
Mm-hmm.
handling situations. When I was in HR, the easiest thing for me at a roofing company was they had fundamentals. So when someone didn't perform to expectation, as you went against how we work as a company. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is the fundamental that you went against.
Mm-hmm.
A, did you know that you were doing that? B, is this an opportunity for us for learning?
Mm.
Or C, do you not care? When we have
Yeah. Yeah.
conversations, this is a teachable moment, or is this something that this is showing true to your actual
Correct. True
character and
colors.
your value system. We're
Yeah.
going to take the
Yeah.
line.
hmm So, I imagine you've had some conversations with clients where like, hey, you're going to have a tough conversation with somebody. This
Mhm.
is, there's misalignment here, and you see it like, boom, like that. And they might not, or they're like, yeah, I know, I've just kind of been avoiding that or what have you.
But I think sometimes behaviors are kind of pushed, and sometimes when I first come into a company, sometimes I'm seeing the person for the tough exterior that they're putting on because they're at wit's
Mm-hmm.
end, that from
Mm.
what it used to be and compared to what it is now. So they know what could be great about the company, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
frustrated at
Mm-hmm.
where they have to be right now. A great
Yes.
book is called The Leadership Code by
Okay.
A.J. Slavinsky. And in
Okay.
that book, they liken people to birds, eagles, seagulls, and turkeys. What am I missing? They squawk. Eagles, seagulls. I'm
Yeah.
missing it.
Sure.
And so they talk about the different life cycles of
Uh-huh.
people in the workplace, and it's a
Hmm.
people and values based leadership book.
Okay.
And now it's going to kill me. Why? I usually have the
I know. I've heard of the book, but I've never read it, so
eagles,
I
seagulls,
can't.
owls, and turkeys.
Got it.
Eagles,
Got it.
seagulls, owls, turkeys, and and the different place in their life cycles. The
Mm-hmm.
eagles, they naturally soar. You said a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time the salespeople, the performers that come in and just kind of make their sales, and they evolve, and then
Mm-hmm.
they may become an owl later on because of life and family and circumstances have brought them to that, and they're happy just
Mm-hmm.
being steady and being a support to other eagles that come in.
Yeah.
Seagulls, they'll squawk on everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
they're always going to make a fuss, and you need to identify if they're worth their value to
Mm-hmm.
keep around. Like you say, if they're a jerk, it's
Yeah.
probably not effective for the morale. And
Mm.
then the turkeys, they were once owls, but maybe they've deviated because of values misalignment. Something shifted in the way things. Sometimes they've grown beyond their level of competence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's made them uncomfortable. But there's like a point of no return, or maybe there's a way to bring them back in line so that they can bring value again to the company. But
Mm.
you have
Mm.
to be aware of the different roles that people play, but also where they are in their life cycle. And obviously, I don't want to get into too much HR and
Mm-hmm.
personal stuff like that. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if we are understanding of where people are in their lives, where
Yeah.
they're at a point where they're having a family, or they're
Mm-hmm.
just looking to achieve and hit goals, and be able to make high amounts of money, we need to identify that within what our plan
Yeah.
is. A
Correct.
lot of
Yeah.
companies don't have goals. Like people who are making some serious money don't
Mm.
necessarily have a goal beyond earning more than last year.
Mm.
What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Who who fell off? Who did you add on? How much are we not taking advantage of because we're not really paying attention to what services we sold, and
Mm.
if they're even serving us? Are we just doing the work to perform the work, but the return isn't
Yeah.
as great as maybe this other offering that we have?
Yeah. That's really good. And I love your point about people being in different stages of life, because I'm seeing that with a couple employees now that are actually starting families, and the goals are just different, and the focus is just different, and less of an eagle and more of an owl. Literally, I'm observing that over the past couple months with an employee in particular.
Mhm,
And it's like, okay, now we need to change the role here a little bit, or the expectations, or
mhm,
there needs to be a difference there, because the life has changed, and that has impacted the approach to work, which is not bad. Not in
mhm.
this case, at least. It's not bad. It's just different. And if we were unaware of that, or just didn't care about it, then that's where we think there's a misalignment, and it's a negative thing. But really, it can be a strength. We just have to adjust a little bit.
Right. And if you can make that adjustment, how much more appreciative would that employee be with you being more flexible with them, understanding the stressors that they have in
Yeah.
life right now. Because when kids are young, it's a little more stressful. As they get older and they're in school, it's a different level, and
Mhm.
different differences. My kids are teenagers now, so it's
Mhm.
like drop me off, pick me up. Halloween
Yeah.
wasn't, it was
Yeah,
just,
exactly. Yeah.
but there's more flexibility. The worry never changes because they're just bigger worries, and their cars and like,
Yeah.
you adapt. And so understanding that, I know I can work more late nights, and I'm
Mhm.
comfortable with sitting at my desk at night, or I'll prioritize my time where I know I can be with them at a certain time,
Yeah.
and then be more hyper focused on the activities that require
Yeah.
that.
That's good. So kind of wrapping up here, I'm curious, when you have a client, like excuse me, you said at the beginning you interview your clients and you would have to do that pretty extensively to know where they're coming from. Do you ever have someone where you're like, "Hey, I just don't think we're a good fit," because you can see that person is just not receptive or not going to be receptive to your feedback? Do you ever have someone where it's just like, "Hey, no, we're not the solution for you"?
Yes. Well, and I've had to learn. So over
Mhm.
time, you think you could take on every client, and you just want to do the best you can. Hey, they've
Mhm. Mhm.
requested my services, they've agreed to move forward, but it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that they've agreed to perform or to be
Yeah.
responsive in the way that's necessary in order for my work to be effective. And so it relies on their interpretation.
Mhm.
If they're not participating, and then they say it's not working because you don't want to do the work.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes you have to part ways, because in the beginning, it's like dating someone.
Mm.
Everything seems good. They've got a nice car. They've got,
Yep.
all
Yep.
the all of the things
Yeah.
that you think took me out to dinner, and then when
Yeah.
reality hits, is the situation really the situation?
Yeah.
Are they that person that I thought I was dating?
Yeah.
You have to approach it in that way, because when I engage a company, it's not transactional for me. I
Mhm.
get involved with them in a way where I feel like I'm an investor in their company. And
Yeah.
so it's part of my responsibility and my pride to see them through the
Mm.
success of our plans. And that's why I've gotten into business for myself, so I can make an impact. And when I'm
Yeah.
not making an impact, that stresses me, because I'm like,
Yeah.
how, and I'm always thinking of ways, okay, I don't think they received me when I said this. How can I change my approach so that they can understand the message in the way
Mhm.
that they receive it? That's the
Yeah.
positive impact of AI. So when I'm
Mhm.
writing a message, I'm not like dominant, to the
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
but I do take into consideration my audience. So I'll readjust the message. I'll say, I want to say this at point blank.
Yeah.
And, but this is my audience. So,
Yeah, so help me, yeah.
tailor it to
Tailor
them.
it, yeah. At the beginning of the call, you said that you're actually really good at connecting the dots, and that sounded like that was kind of a realization that you had, and
Mhm.
then you went into business yourself. Can you just briefly touch on that? Was that a realization moment and you're like, "I need to make a business out of this?" Or did that slowly cultivate over years, and when did you make the leap of, "Hey, I'm gonna start Solutions by Maya"?
So it cultivated over the years. I always knew that I'd be entrepreneurial. My husband and I own a barber shop. My husband's a barber, and we've had that business for more than 14 years. And so we service the Oakland Park
Mhm.
area. But, and then always been entrepreneurial, and we also created a shave product. So bringing vision into action is something that I always taken pride in.
Mhm.
But I found that when I was having conversations in meetings or in normal meetings, different people were having conversations. They weren't
Mhm.
communicating, but I was
Yeah.
catching the sentiment from all sides, and I
Yep,
was
yep,
able
yep.
to be the bridge. So in a lot of the work that I've done over the years, I realized that, wow, it wasn't being helpful. It wasn't being the hardest worker. It was that I was listening to all sides, and I was willing to create a bridge that would allow for
Mhm.
all parties to be happy, because not
Yeah.
everybody wants or the to see what I'm
Yeah.
able to see. I'm able to see many steps ahead
Yeah.
in a solution and I caught that because I would tell people my ideas and they'd look at me like I was crazy because we'd meeting
Hmm.
and I'd be hearing all
Yeah.
sides and I'm like, wait, I'm ready to prescribe a response, like I knew I can see the end to this. And
Yeah.
then I realized that as much as I want it to happen quickly and I want to give you the instant fix, it's going to take you time. So I need to be patient with you and I need to bring you through
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
understanding that will get you to the result.
Let me ask you this. Maybe I'm off here, but do you think that being a mother has helped you cultivate? I see all the sides that you're coming from, and help you cultivate. Let's through this. Let's grow into this because it's gonna take time.
Being a mom,
Yeah, and having kids
I mean,
and seeing them through
be
that.
nurturing, I guess. Well, I'm the oldest. Have you ever heard of like
Yeah, yeah.
who where you are in
The
each
lineup. Hmm.
birth order? And so I naturally took care of my
Yeah.
siblings because they were so much younger. And so there was always some kind of nurturing that I had.
Hmm.
I was always career bound, so I channeled it differently. And I also
Yeah.
grew up with members that were educators.
Yeah.
So I think it's the issue in a way that want to help, but also being able to break it down into its smallest parts and have like the patience to know that
Hmm.
maybe it's not understood. Where
Yeah.
there are a lot of times where I take my kids a step back. I'm like, wait, did you explain this part of it? And that this is,
Hmm.
did they understand that? Did you give them
Yes.
the benefit of the doubt of knowing this information up front and then working up to the occasion? Because I'm
Yes.
very much about giving people an opportunity to work up to the occasion. But
Yeah.
at times they didn't select them for the right reasons. So it
Hmm.
makes it that much harder, to make them fit a role that really wasn't
Yeah.
intended for them.
The reason I mention that is because it's like these are very fundamental things. This is not like an advanced, a new approach to building a business. This is very fundamental communication. Hey, are we getting along? Are we hearing what the other person is saying? And that's like what you teach kids. I mean, that's not disrespect to any of your clients or to belittle them or anything, but that just shows how powerful those fundamentals are and that they translate from when we're a little kid being taught by our mom and dad to being in business. Like, okay, did I say this to the person? Did I hear what they were saying? Did I actually consider where they're at? And then you come in and you're asking those questions and getting that person to reflect and be like, no, you're right. I actually didn't. No, and I just kind of, and I'm not even hearing what they're
Well,
saying.
sometimes the response is they're grown adults. They should hear or should have heard what I said and applied
Mm,
it. Did they know how to apply it?
yeah. Yeah, the truth of that, because you're not dealing with kids. Hmm.
Yeah. So that, it's one of those things. You have to be ready to want to make those changes. But the fact of the matter is when you get to a certain size and
Yeah.
not documented, if you haven't
Yeah.
developed standard operating procedures, if you haven't developed what each
Hmm.
position and role description really, the return on that investment should look like, and key performance metrics that you're expecting of
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
then you frustrated about the performance, then that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Because you
sure.
didn't clean your side of the street, you can't expect that the other side
Yes.
would be clean.
No, for sure. Well, this is great, Maya. I you going through everything. There's a ton more. I mean, we could start talking about specifics of how do you work with C-suite versus like someone who's on the ground versus administration. I mean, there's so much that we could go into, and it sounds like you're a wealth of knowledge in all of that because you've dealt with all those different situations. And I can imagine there are people who are going to be listening who say, "Look, I want to know more. I want to hear like Maya's got some great perspective." And she's got great points. I think those could apply to me. I need some personal input from Maya. If someone wants to reach out, where do they go? What do they do?
They can go to my website, sbmgo.org. That's
Hmm.
solutionsbymayago.org, but SBM is the initials,
Hmm.
go.org. And I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm very involved in different associations. I like to give back as best as I can. Another initiative that I'm involved in is the pre-apprenticeship program with Junior Achievement South Florida. Really, I feel that the trades need attention, that a lot of people are aging out of the industries in the trades, and there is a need and it's not going anywhere, and young people need to know about it. So I'm a big advocate for in the trades and the youth learning about opportunities, because not everyone's going to work on a computer.
No. Yeah, trades are here to stay. They're never going to go away. They'll change with technology, but they're not going to go away. Still need to build houses. Still need to make cars. And
although, interestingly, I went to a trade show the other day and I saw how they do the 3D concrete.
Yeah, printing.
Yes, that very interesting to see how it's come to life.
Yeah, it's very innovative, but the longevity of it. I've had some people on here who do that stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's there. Let's see how it plays out. So, but it is interesting. Right? Yeah, exactly. Thank you again, Maya. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time on the show. I appreciate your expertise. I can see that you love what you do. You are the right person in the right role. And so you can certainly speak to people about getting the right person in the right role as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day, Quinton.
Yes, you as well. Bye-bye.